The royal hall of Valar shimmered like liquid crystal. Thousands of alien nobles stood in silence, their glowing eyes focused on one figure, Princess Seralith, the heir to the sapphire throne. Her silver skin reflected the light of twin suns, her crown pulsing softly with energy from ancient ancestors. Today was supposed to be her engagement ceremony. 50 suitors from across the galaxy had come. Princes, generals, warlords, each ready to offer planets, fleets, and bloodlines. But the princess did not smile. The emperor, her father, stood beside her with a proud yet tired gaze. "Daughter," he said in a voice that shook the hall, "the empire waits. Choose your partner and seal our alliances." Seralith's eyes moved slowly across the grand hall. She saw faces filled with greed, arrogance, and pride. None of them looked kind. None of them looked real. Then she spoke, her voice calm but sharp like a blade. "I refuse." A cold silence fell. One of the suitors laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But when Seralith turned toward the throne and repeated, "I will not marry any of them," the laughter died. Gasps echoed. 1,000 whispers spread like fire through the crowd. The emperor's face hardened. "You cannot refuse the council's decree," he warned. "You carry the blood of the stars. You will choose." But she shook her head slowly. "I will marry only when I feel it, not when I am ordered." The nobles hissed in shock. One alien general shouted, "The princess insults the crown." Another screamed, "No one denies the emperor." But Seralith stood tall. Her glowing eyes burned brighter. "Then let them be insulted," she said. "I will not bind my life to emptiness." Days passed. The story spread beyond the palace, through markets, warships, and colonies. The refusal of the princess became a galactic scandal. Some called her brave, others foolish. But she did not care. Inside her private chambers, she sat near the starlit window, watching the twin suns fade. Her maid, a small insectoid creature named Rhea, whispered, "You have refused 50 noble houses, my princess. Do you wait for someone?" Seralith smiled faintly, touching the glowing gem on her wrist, an old charm linked to the dream web, an ancient psychic network used by royal bloodlines. "I saw someone once," she murmured. "In a vision. A man not of our kind. He looked lost, yet gentle. His eyes were warm. He said something to me." Rhea tilted her head. "What did he say?" Seralith whispered. "He said, 'Don't be afraid. You'll find me when it's time.'" She didn't know if it was real, perhaps a dream, perhaps a trick of the web, but the memory never left her. And deep down, she waited. Weeks later, the royal engineers announced a malfunction in the fleet's main engine systems. The Emperor ordered an urgent repair team from the Human Confederation. Known for their strange machines and clever minds, it was rare for humans to step inside the royal palace of Velora. They were considered too simple, too fragile. But the Emperor cared only for results. That morning, as the workers arrived, Seralith was walking through the crystal corridors. She noticed one of them, a young human man, standing quietly near a broken ship console. He had no armor, no titles, no royal glow. Just a worn toolkit, brown eyes, and calm hands covered in oil. He didn't notice her at first. He was focused on fixing a cracked energy core. Then he looked. Up. Their eyes met. The hum of machines stopped. The world slowed down for a single breath. Seralith felt her heart tremble. The same warmth. The same eyes she had seen in her dream. The guard stepped forward, ready to bow before the princess, but she raised her hand. Everyone froze. She looked directly at the human. Her voice was soft, almost trembling, yet filled with strange certainty. "Yes," she said. The human blinked, confused. Yes what?" Seralith smiled. the first real smile she had shown in years. "You," she whispered. I said yes. "To you." The royal guards stared in horror. The courtiers gasped. The emperor rose from his throne in disbelief. A princess of stars had just chosen a human mechanic dot, and across the galaxy, destiny began to move. The name Eli Ward was nothing special among humans. He was quiet, patient, and always preferred machines to people. When his ship landed on Valora, he thought he'd spend a few hours fixing energy coils and leave quietly, not walk into royal madness. Now the whole empire knew his name. The moment the princess said yes, every noble, every soldier, and every spy started whispering it. Eli Ward, the human, the man who somehow made the Princess of Stars say yes, without a second thought. Eli had no idea what was happening. He stood in the middle of the great hall, holding a wrench covered in oil stains, blinking like someone caught in the wrong dream. Around him, alien nobles hissed in disgust. Their armor shimmered, their skin glowed with biolight, and their faces twisted in disbelief. "What is this joke?" one of them barked. "A human? This creature?" Eli opened his mouth. I was just fixing the..." "Silence!" the royal guard shouted, raising an energy spear. No human speaks in the presence of the crown. But before the guard could take a step forward, Seralith raised her hand. The hall went silent instantly. "I have chosen," she said, her voice echoing like silver. "And my choice stands." The emperor's jaw tightened. "You know the law, Seralith. He must prove he is worthy to stand beside the royal bloodline. You have humiliated this court. Now face the consequences." Seralith bowed her head slightly, calm and fearless. "Then let the trial decide," she said. Eli blinked. "Wait? Trial? What trial?" But no one answered. That night, Eli sat in a crystal cell, not because he was arrested, but because royal protection apparently looked a lot like a cage. A glowing barrier hummed between him and the rest of the palace. He could see the twin moons rising outside. His reflection looked small and out of place, a man surrounded by impossible beauty and endless danger. He sighed. "I just fix ships, man. Not hearts, not kingdoms." The door opened softly. Seralith stepped inside. No guards, no crown. Just her, without her armor, her hair flowing like silver fire. "Do you know why I said yes?" she asked quietly. Eli shook his head. "Honestly, I'm still trying to believe this isn't some alien prank show." A soft laugh escaped her lips. "You think I'm playing?" "I think I'm in trouble." Seralith smiled, but her eyes were heavy, glowing with memories. "Years ago, during the War of Shadows, I was lost in the dream web. It's a place where minds connect through light. I was dying. And I saw you?" Eli frowned. "Me?" "You were fixing something in the dark," she whispered. "And when you looked at me, you said, 'Don't be afraid. You'll find me when it's time.' I woke up alive. Ever since that day, I've seen your face in dreams." Eli stared at her, speechless. He didn't believe in destiny, but her voice sounded like truth. Trembling, fragile, and sincere. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, princess, I'm just an engineer. I don't belong in your visions or your royal chaos." Seralith stepped closer. "Maybe you don't belong to my world," she said softly, "but my heart decided before I ever saw your face in reality." The energy field flickered between them, humming louder, reacting to her emotion. For a moment, the barrier flashed and vanished completely. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly as it touched his cheek. Her skin was warm, almost human. "Tomorrow, they will make you face the trial of stars," she whispered. "If you fail, they will erase you from memory. But if you survive, He finished her sentence quietly. "I'll be your equal." Seralith nodded. "No, Eli Ward. If you survive, you'll be their fear." As she left, the crystal door closed again, locking him inside. Eli leaned back against the wall, staring at the alien stars above. He didn't understand their laws, their wars, or their gods. But one thing was certain. He wasn't going to die proving his worth to anyone. He whispered to himself, voice calm and determined, "If they want a trial, fine. Let's show them what a human mechanic can do." Outside, the twin moons glowed brighter, as if watching the beginning of something the universe had long waited for. The spark between a princess of light and a man of metal. The dawn over Valera bled gold and violet across the sky. Bells rang from the crystal towers as thousands of aliens gathered around the arena of stars. A vast coliseum built into the side of a glowing mountain dot. At its center stood Eli Ward, the human mechanic, dressed not in armor, but in his same dusty jacket, holding only a small toolkit. He looked up at the crowd of alien nobles, shimmering like living jewels, all waiting for him to fail dot above them. Princess Seralith sat beside her father, the Emperor. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled on her lap. The Emperor's voice thundered through the arena. "By ancient law, the one who seeks the hand of royal blood must prove their worth. Let the human be tested by the trial of stars." The crowd roared. 3 trials. 3 chances to survive. First trial. The path of fire. The ground split open, revealing a bridge of energies spanning a lake of molten plasma. Each step burned, each platform shifted. Alien warriors in power armor had failed it before. Eli squinted at the shifting lights. "All right," he muttered. "Guess we're doing this the human way." While others tried to run straight through the fire, he crouched down and studied the pattern. Every few seconds, the energy pillars blinked off and on, like an electrical rhythm. He waited, counted, then moved. Step, pause, step, jump. Gasps filled the air. The human wasn't running with speed or strength. He was reading the pattern like an engineer reading a machine. By the final platform, flames burst behind him. Eli dove, rolled, and landed on the other side, smoke rising from his boots, grin half hidden. He looked up toward the Emperor's balcony. "That one's done," he said softly. The nobles stared in disbelief. The first human to cross the path of fire had done it with logic, not muscle. Second trial. The beast of chains. A massive gate opened. From the darkness emerged a creature made of metal and scales. Part machine, part monster. Its eyes glowed red, its breath burned the ground. "The Krillin beast," whispered a noble. "It's destroyed fleets." Eli exhaled. "Big fella, huh?" The beast roared and charged. Eli ran, not toward it, but around it, scanning its movement. He saw something strange. A glowing blue mark under its neck, an exposed control node. It wasn't a wild beast. It was an old war machine, reprogrammed to fight. He waited for the right moment, then sprinted forward, sliding under its massive claw. Using his wrench, he hit the node. Sparks exploded. The beast froze, twitching, then fell with a thunderous crash. Silence. Then the crowd erupted. Seralith stood, her eyes wide with pride and fear. "He didn't fight it," she whispered. "He fixed it." Final trial. The Heart of Stars. For the last challenge. Eli was taken into a sealed chamber, a floating platform under the open sky. In the center stood a glowing orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. "The Heart of Stars," the Emperor said. "To touch it is to face the truth within yourself. Most minds break. If he survives, he may live." Eli stepped closer. The light grew brighter, waves of energy pulling him into visions. He saw himself as a child, repairing broken machines in an old, forgotten colony. He saw his world, weak, ignored. always treated as lesser by alien empires. Then he saw Seralith, alone, looking up at him in that vision, her eyes full of the same loneliness he carried his whole life. The light whispered in his mind, "Why do you fight, human?" He answered quietly, "Because someone finally saw me, and I won't let her stand alone." The orb dimmed, its light merging into his chest. Outside, the entire arena went silent as the human stepped out, alive. Glowing faintly with starlight, the Emperor rose from his throne. Speechless. Eli looked up at him and said, "I didn't come here to be a prince. I came to show you that worth isn't born, it's built." The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, half from awe, half from fear. Princess Seralith's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "He did it." The Emperor turned away, hiding his confusion. For the first time in centuries, a human had passed the trial of stars. And somewhere deep within the Empire's ancient heart, the old laws began to tremble. The night after the trial of stars, the palace of Valera was quieter than ever. No feasts, no cheers. Only whispers. The human had survived, something no alien had done for centuries. And that terrified the Empire more than it impressed them. Eli Ward sat alone in the Garden of Light, surrounded by floating petals that glowed softly like tiny suns. The air smelled like rain and electricity. He stared at his burned gloves and muttered, "All this just because someone said yes." He didn't hear her footsteps, but he felt her presence. Princess Seralith stood behind him, her long silver hair catching the starlight. "You did what none of them could," she said softly. "You made the impossible look simple." Eli looked up at her. "You make it sound like I planned that. I just fix things the only way I know how." Seralith smiled faintly and sat beside him on the glowing stone bench. "That's why they fear you, Eli Ward. You didn't fight like them. You thought. You adapted. You made their rules irrelevant." He sighed, rubbing his neck. "You keep saying they fear me. Who's they, exactly?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, her eyes drifted toward the twin moons. Finally, she whispered, "The Council of Oracles. The Dream Watchers. The ones who decide who deserves power and who doesn't." Eli frowned. "Dream Watchers?" Seralith turned to him. "Do you know why I said yes to you that first day?" He gave a small shrug. "Still hoping you'll explain that, Barb." She looked straight into his eyes. "Because I've seen you before. Long before this day." Eli blinked. "What?" She lifted her hand, and the air shimmered between them. Suddenly, the garden dissolved into a sea of stars, glowing threads connecting worlds and minds. The dream web. Eli felt his body weightless, floating beside her inside this vast, cosmic space. "When I was 16, Seralith said, her voice echoing gently through the starlight, "I was attacked during the War of Shadows. My ship was burning. My mind was collapsing into the void. To survive, my consciousness entered the web, the network where royal minds connect when they are close to death." She looked down at her glowing hand. "And there, I saw you?" Eli's heart skipped. "You're saying I was there?" "You were repairing something," she said. "Your face was covered in smoke, your hands bleeding. You looked at me, a stranger, lost and fading, and said, 'Don't be afraid. You'll find me when it's time.' And the vision vanished. And I woke up. The stars flickered around them." Eli felt his breath tighten. "I never had that dream," he said slowly. "But I always felt like someone was waiting for me." Seralith nodded. "The oracles warned me it was a hallucination. They said humans can't connect to the web, only royal bloodlines. They called it forbiddance. They told me to forget you." Her voice broke slightly. "But I couldn't. Every time I looked into the stars, I felt your voice. Calm, human, kind. It became my anchor. Eli floated closer, the light reflecting in his eyes. So that's why you refused all those princes? Yes, she whispered. Because I already said yes, years ago, in the dream. The stars began to dim. The illusion faded, and the garden returned. But they weren't alone anymore. From the shadows emerged tall figures in glowing robes, their faces hidden behind mirrored masks. The Dream Watchers. The leader stepped forward, voice cold and deep. Princess Seralith, you have broken the law of blood. You have shared the sacred web with a mortal. Eli stood up, instinctively moving in front of her. She didn't share anything. I didn't even know what it was. The Watcher's mask tilted. And yet, the web recognized you? That is not possible. Seralith's tone turned sharp. It happened. Deny it all you want. The web chose him. The Watcher raised his hand. Energy crackled in the air. Then the web is corrupted. The punishment is cleansing. Seralith's eyes widened. You mean execution? Eli's fists clenched. You'll have to go through me first. The Watcher's voice darkened. Easily done, human. The air trembled, bright energy forming between the Watcher's hands, until a voice thundered through the night. Enough. It was the Emperor. His arrival made the energy vanish instantly. He looked at his daughter, then at Eli. His eyes were full of something new. Not anger, but uncertainty. He spoke slowly. Perhaps the web shows what the universe itself desires. If it connected you both, maybe destiny has changed. The Watchers bowed and vanished into smoke. Seralith turned to Eli, breathing hard. You see now? We were never supposed to meet. And yet, the stars chose otherwise. Eli looked at her, quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled faintly. Guess the stars have good taste. She laughed softly. For the first time in weeks, a laugh that carried across the glowing garden. But far above, hidden among the constellations, the Dream Watchers watched again and began to plan their revenge. The morning after the Dream Watchers' warning, the royal palace no longer felt alive. The bright corridors of Velura, once filled with music and light, now pulsed with fear. Guards whispered. Ministers avoided eye contact. Even the air seemed heavier, as if the Empire itself was holding its breath. Eli Ward stood at the window of his guest chamber, staring at the horizon, where the twin suns rose like watchful eyes. So this is what it feels like, he muttered. To win the trial, and still lose everything. Outside, soldiers in silver armor surrounded the gardens, their weapons humming. He wasn't a guest anymore. He was a threat. The door opened, and Seralith entered, her expression hidden behind a dark hood. She looked tired, like someone carrying the weight of 10 worlds. They've decided, she said quietly. The council wants you exiled beyond the rim. Eli turned to her, jaw tightening. Exiled? For what? Passing their own test? For being you, she said bitterly. The Dream Watchers claim your connection to the web is a virus. They say if you stay, the whole network could collapse. Eli gave a short, dry laugh. Of course. When they don't understand something, they call it a disease. Seralith stepped closer, her voice trembling. You don't understand, Eli. They will not stop at exile. If I speak for you again, they will strip me of my title or worse. He looked at her, calm but serious. Then don't speak for me. Speak with me. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, quietly, she said, You would fight the Empire itself? Eli shrugged. I've fought broken machines tougher than their pride. By dusk, the council made their move. Imperial broadcasts spread across the Empire. The human has defied sacred law. He corrupts the web. He must be erased. Protests broke out on smaller moons. Workers, soldiers, and wanderers who admired the human's courage began chanting his name. The idea of Eli Ward spread faster than the council expected. It wasn't about a man anymore. It was about a question. Can love be stronger than law? Inside the palace, chaos erupted. Soldiers were ordered to arrest the human immediately. Seralith burst into his room. "They're coming," she said. "You have to leave now." Eli grabbed his toolkit, his only weapon. "Not without you." "You don't understand," she whispered. Urgently, "If we run together, it becomes treason. My father, he'll have no choice but to hunt us." He looked straight into her eyes. "Then he'll hunt both of us. Because I'm not running from this alone." Her lips trembled, but then she smiled, softly and tragically. "You really are impossible." "Human nature," he said with a small grin. They ran through the palace corridors, alarms wailing like dying stars. Guards shouted, "Stop them!" as energy blasts scorched the air. Seralith's hands glowed, summoning shields of light that deflected fire. Eli moved behind her, quick and clever, using his tools to overload the palace gates. When the main gate refused to open, Eli crawled beneath the control panel, sparks flying around him. Come on, Eli." Seralith cried as another blast hit the wall beside them. The gate suddenly roared open, flooding the hall with wind and moonlight. "Got it," Eli said, panting. "Now let's leave before they decide to fix it." They ran into the night, past the royal gardens, across bridges of glass and light, until they reached the hangar of the Celestials, the Empire's private fleet. Seralith stopped before a sleek silver warship. "This one's mine," she said. Eli blinked. "Yours?" "My escape plan since the day I said no to the first prince." He grinned. "Glad I came along for the finale." As the ship's engines roared to life, soldiers poured into the hangar. Blaster fire cut through the smoke, but Seralith raised her hands, her power cracking through the air like thunder. "Enough!" she shouted. The shockwave sent the guards sprawling. Eli pulled her inside. The ship rose into the sky, breaking through the clouds as alarms echoed far below from the Emperor's balcony. Lightning reflected in his eyes as he watched his daughter's ship vanish into the night. His voice was heavy with fury and pain. "Let her go," he said. "If she has chosen rebellion, then let her see what rebellion costs." Inside the warship, stars stretched endlessly before them. Seralith stood beside Eli in the cockpit, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're fugitives now. Every planet, every outpost will hunt us." Eli adjusted a lever and smiled faintly. "Then we'd better make it worth their chase." She looked at him. "What are you planning?" He turned to her with calm determination. "Not a fight, Princess. A movement. And somewhere in the endless dark between galaxies, the first signal of the Union of the Free began to pulse, a rebellion born not from hatred, but from love." The warship's silver veil sliced through the void, engines glowing like twin hearts. It was no longer the royal ship of Princess Seralith. It was the first vessel of rebellion. Inside, the air was tense but alive. Screens flickered with intercepted transmissions. News from across the galaxy carried one name whispered in awe and defiance. Eli Ward, the human who defied the Empire. To some, he was a criminal. To others, a symbol of freedom. Days turned into weeks as Seralith and Eli traveled from planet to planet, gathering allies, alien miners from the dark moons, forgotten soldiers, and even scholars once silenced by the Dream Watchers. They all came for one reason, to fight not for bloodlines, but for choice. One night, inside the ship's control room, Seralith looked at the growing fleet on the holographic map, dozens of ships glowing like fireflies. "They believe in you," she said softly. Eli shook his head. "No, they believe in us. A mechanic and a princess who refused to stay quiet." She smiled faintly. "That's the problem with humans. You make rebellion sound romantic." "Because it is," he said simply. "Every time someone chooses love over fear, that's rebellion." For a moment, silence filled the ship. Outside, the stars shimmered like an audience to their unspoken promise. But the Empire was not blind dot in the heart of Valera. The Emperor stood before the High Council. His eyes burned as reports of riots, defections, and destroyed supply lines appeared on floating screens. "Your daughter's human has infected the stars," hissed a counselor. "Entire systems are questioning your rule." The Emperor's voice was calm, but cold as steel. "Then we will remind them what happens to those who forget fear." He turned to his fleet commander. "Deploy the Celestial Armada. Burn every rebel world. Start with those who speak the human's name." The commander hesitated. "Your Majesty, what about the princess?" A shadow passed over the Emperor's face. "Bring her home," he said softly. "Alive if possible." Days later, the darkness of space lit up with fire. The first battle of the rebellion began near the shattered moon of Dr. Enos. Eli stood in the cockpit, hands steady on the control panel. All ships formed defense arc. "Focus on the left flank." Seralith commanded the forward squadron, her voice calm but fierce. "Protect the refugee carriers. No one gets left behind." Explosions thundered outside. Alien warships with glowing wings tore through the sky, while rebel vessels, smaller, weaker, fought back with desperate precision. Inside the chaos, Eli's voice remained steady. "They have power. We have purpose. That's how we win." A rebel pilot's voice crackled through the comms. "We're hit. Engines failing." Eli grabbed the mic. "You've still got wings, don't you? Then fly, soldier. Fly free." The pilot laughed through static and kept fighting. Hours later, after smoke and silence, the rebels regrouped on a drifting asteroid. They had survived, barely. Half their ships were gone. But so was half of the Empire's fleet. Seralith walked into the observation deck, where Eli sat watching the ruins of war floating in the dark. "They'll come again," she said quietly. "I know," he replied. "But next time, we'll be ready." She leaned against the railing. "Do you ever regret it?" He turned to her. "Running? Fighting? Falling for a princess who could destroy me?" Her smile was sad but warm. "All of it?" Eli looked back at the stars. "No, because for the first time in my life, I'm part of something that matters." Seralith looked at him for a long moment, the human who had become the voice of an entire galaxy. "The Empire calls you dangerous," she said softly. "They're right. You're dangerous because you make others remember they're alive." But even as they spoke, a shadow moved beyond the asteroid belt, a massive imperial dreadnought, cloaked in black light. The Emperor himself was aboard, silent and watching Dot in his hands. He held an ancient relic, the crown of the web, pulsing with the same light that once bound Seralith and Eli together. "Love connects them," he murmured. "Then love shall be the weapon that ends them." Inside the silver veil, alarms began to sound. The crew rushed to their stations. Seralith and Eli exchanged a single glance. Fear and fire mixed together. The war beyond stars was no longer coming. It had arrived. The universe was holding its breath. From the black silence beyond the asteroid belt, the imperial dreadnought Eclipse emerged, its surface alive with stormlight, its engines burning like captured suns. It wasn't just a warship. It was the Emperor's throne carried into battle. On the bridge of the Silver Veil, alarms screamed and red light flashed through the corridors. Rebel ships scrambled into formation, but the dreadnought was so massive it blotted out half the stars. Eli Ward stood at the front viewport, jaw clenched. "So," he muttered, "the king himself decided to show up." Seralith stepped beside him, her face pale under the dim light. "He's not coming to capture us this time," she said. "He's coming to end everything." Her hand trembled slightly, but Eli's hand found hers. Warm, steady. "Then we end it together." The Emperor's voice echoed across open channels, deep and commanding, reaching every ship, every rebel, every trembling soldier in the void. "My daughter has chosen rebellion over duty. The human has poisoned her heart. Surrender now, and I will spare your worlds." Eli stepped forward to the console and pressed transmit. His voice was calm, carrying across the stars. "We don't want your throne. We just want the right to choose who we are, even if that means choosing love." For the first time, the galaxy heard silence. Then an explosion of voices. From rebel ships to distant colonies, humans and aliens alike repeated his words, "To choose who we are." The Emperor's fury was quiet, but deadly. "Then you choose extinction." He raised the crown of the web, a golden circlet of light and energy. Humming with forbidden psychic power, the crown's tendrils reached across space, linking every mind it touched. Rebel pilots screamed as visions flooded their brains, fear, guilt, despair. Ships spiraled out of control. Seralith gasped, clutching her head. "He's using the web to control them." Eli knelt beside her, holding her shoulders. "Then break it. You're linked to it too." She looked up, her eyes glowing faintly. "If I fight him inside the web, I might not come back." Eli shook his head. "You came back once before. You'll come back again." Her lips trembled into a faint smile. "Not without you." She reached for his hand. "Join me." The world dissolved into light. Suddenly, Eli and Seralith stood within the dream web, an endless ocean of stars, threads of consciousness connecting every living being. And at its center stood the Emperor, cloaked in gold fire, holding the crown like a weapon. "This is not your place, human," his voice boomed. "The web belongs to royal blood." Eli stepped forward, his human outline flickering but unbroken. "Then maybe your blood isn't what makes it royal." The Emperor struck, threads of psychic lightning ripping across the void. Eli staggered, but didn't fall. Seralith stood before him, blocking the second wave. "You taught me strength through fear," she said to her father. "He taught me strength through hope." The crown pulsed wildly, struggling between them. "Seralith!" Eli shouted. "The web's not his, it's everyone's. Let them in." She closed her eyes and reached out, not to fight, but to open. One by one, lights flared across the void, minds awakening. Soldiers, workers, even children, all connecting, all pushing back. The crown cracked. The Emperor roared, clutching his head. "You'll destroy the web." "No," Seralith whispered, tears glowing like starlight. "We're freeing it." The crown shattered, releasing a wave of energy that rolled through the galaxy like a second dawn. When the light faded, the dream web glowed brighter than ever, its threads no longer bound by one ruler, but shared by billions. The Emperor fell to his knees, eyes empty, his voice breaking. "I only wanted to protect my people." Seralith walked toward him, her expression full of sorrow. "Then start by freeing them." Moments later, the silver veil floated in silence among the stars. The dreadnought had gone dark. The war was over. Seralith stood beside Eli, looking out at the reborn horizon. "The council will need a ruler," she said quietly. He smiled. "Then rule them well." She shook her head, her eyes gentle. "No, I'm done ruling. I'm done with crowns." She took off her tiara and placed it in his hands. "Let this be the last one." Eli looked at her and threw the crown into the void. It spun once, catching the light of twin suns, then vanished. Years later, stories spread across the galaxy. They spoke of the princess who defied her empire, and the human who taught the stars to dream. Together, they built a small workshop on a quiet moon, fixing ships, raising gardens, and teaching anyone who came that love was not weakness, but evolution. And every night, when the stars above shimmered like threads of gold, Seralith would whisper with a smile, "We didn't end the empire, Eli. We just reminded it what it means to feel." He'd laugh softly and reply, "Guess the universe finally said yes."